pharmaceutical company Prevacus says their new concussion medication Prevacol helps repair nerves and promote cell growth.
We can get the drug in the brain in less than 5 minutes. And our plan is when we get that diagnosis on the field of play, give the drug nasally, get it in the brain quickly. When it gets in the brain, it actually gets into the nucleus of your brain cells, and it reduces swelling, inflammation, and oxidative stress at the same time.
When Jake and I first talked about this many years ago, one of my first questions was, will this help me? And he goes, no, this is for treatment immediately when a concussion or you think a concussion has occurred.
Yeah. The acute problems that exist later on in life, if we can take care of these at an early age and start getting some of these things to our children and grandchildren, and I think we can make this game, our game, football, a safer place.
And so the whole goal is we're trying to make the game safer. And so Odyssey and this drug, we believe, can be a game changer in so many different ways. Yes, on the football field, in the game of football, because that's where my passion lies, but also in the game of life.
Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Play Like a Girl. I'm your host, Gianna Cambria, as always. And like promised, we have another amazing guest this week. I want you all to help me welcome Taylor Cool. She's an IMCA race driver. So let's introduce her, and she's really cool, and she has a fantastic story. So we have a lot ahead of us. Hi, Taylor. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Great. I'm so excited that you're here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to talk to you.
No problem. So I wanted to kick things right off and ask how you originally got into racing.
I started racing go-karts when I was 5 years old. My dad's brother, he raced when he was younger, and so my dad got into it when he was an adult just because he was passionate about it. And then he decided to hang it up and let the kids try it. And my brother and I got into it, and we just loved it.
Yeah, so I feel like it's always the same way. Either your mom or your dad gets you into a sport. It was the same with my family.
Yep.
So that led me into my next question, which was, did anybody from your family influence you? I know your dad, but did he, like when you got older, was he leaning towards you to continue pursuing it, or was he a little bit afraid for you to get into the sport?
He's always pushed me to do my hardest. He's really never been nervous or afraid for me because I've always raced with boys ever since I was young. So he's just kind of treated me like one of the boys. He knows that I need to work at it, and in order to achieve what we want to achieve, that he's always pushed me to do my hardest.
Yeah, that's good. So if you remember your first race, can you explain like what it was like for you?
I don't know if I remember it. I kind of remember racing when I was 5 or 6. I was super little. I was pretty fast, but I'd always make little mistakes or something and cost me a win here and there. So
yeah, no, that's okay. I used to play sports when I was little, and so I did figure skating and softball. So when I first stepped on the ice for my first competition, I fell. And like immediately when my mom came to get me after I was done, I was like screaming at the ice. I was like, "It's your fault. It's not mine." Like it was. But I feel like all kids do that when they first get into sports. It's a learning experience.
Yeah, for sure. It's always tough when you first get into something.
Yeah, definitely. So what was it like driving with the top drivers in the country? Were you nervous at all? How did you compose yourself during the whole thing?
I was really nervous because I always kind of raced locally. And then once I got to traveling, I started racing with they're really fast people. They had coaches, they had all their parents and their family there. They were under big tents, and so they had the best equipment. I was super intimidated always, but doing good against them really pushed me to do better and work harder at it.
Yeah, definitely. So how did you compose those nerves during the time?
I don't know. Just once I get onto the racetrack, everything else goes away, and I'm like in my own space.
Good. That's what's important.
Yeah.
So when did you realize that this was your passion and was something that you were passionate about?
Once I got to that world finals with the best drivers around the world, I realized like if I have the skill to do it, and we've gotten to this point, that I need to keep going and see what I can make of it.
Yeah, definitely. That must have been like a good confidence booster as well. Getting
Yeah,
that
for sure it was.
Mm-hmm. I have more questions about that later on.
Okay.
But so I was wondering if you can tell us a little bit about the Rotex World Finals in New Orleans that you were in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I got invited to that. I had to race a big series. I think it was 8 races, and 5 out of the 8 races you had to win or at least be top in points for. And luckily, I got there. It was really hard because a lot of politics were involved. So there was a lot of money and just people talking and stuff. So it was tough for me, and even the officials were involved in that kind of stuff. So that was probably the hardest I've ever had to fight to get that ticket. Mm-hmm. And then once I actually got there, racing against people from all over the country, it was intimidating, but I was so excited. And then unfortunately we had a mishap in the big race, so I didn't do too good in that.
That's okay though.
Yeah.
I have talked to other people on my podcast who, they've gotten to compete against other people around the world just like you. Mm-hmm. My sister was one of them. She went to Worlds for figure skating, so she competed against Sweden, like Italy, and she said that it was one of the best experiences of her life. Would you say the same?
Yeah, I would say the same thing. It's so cool to see like different cultures come like into one spot and race, and it's crazy to think that all those people around the world are doing the same thing as you and working the same as you are.
Exactly. So have you learned anything different from seeing like different cultures or different people around the world racing with you instead of just being stuck in one region?
A little bit. Like the competition is different everywhere. Sometimes it's way harder and sometimes it's a little bit easier and you can beat them easy, but I always like to travel to the harder competition just to push me to do better.
Mm-hmm. So going back to the Rotex World Finals, how did getting the invite to that make you feel empowered as a female in sport, but also getting that win?
I just thought it was so cool being a female because I was racing against about 27 males and there was only one other girl in my division too. So I know people definitely look at a female racer as someone who stands out. So it made me a little bit nervous because I was kind of put on the spot racing against all the guys, but it just really made me feel good because I was different from everyone.
Yeah. So I was going to ask, I know that you said people look at you differently because you're a female driver. Mm-hmm. In every sport, no matter what it is, there's always stereotyping based off of female athletes. So what specific stereotyping have you come across so far in your career?
I've gotten comments like people saying that my dad probably does everything for me and I don't work on my car. Like my nails are always dirty because I'm working on it. And then it's things like that people don't really feel confident in me being a girl driver and racing around me until they actually get to race around me and they see how I can do.
Mm-hmm. I definitely feel you as a female athlete as well. Mm-hmm. There's always been comments about like saying my sport isn't a sport and we don't work as hard as everybody else. But right. How would you say that you brush those comments off and just concentrate on what you're doing and live in the moment?
I always tell myself that it doesn't really matter if I'm a girl and there's a bunch of guys that I'm racing against. once I put the helmet on, I'm just the same as everyone else. You can't even tell I'm a girl. So, I mean, I work just as hard as some of the guys do that I race with. So it really doesn't matter like what I look like or who I am. It's however I race and how respectful everyone is with me on the track.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like just because you're a female in sport, you shouldn't be looked at in a different way. And that's something that we as a society need to change and strive towards.
Right.
So what goes through your head when you're on the track? Like, and I know you mentioned to me that there was a sudden mechanical failure in one of your cars during that world final race. So what went through your mind when that was happening?
Sometimes when things like that happen, I freak out a little bit, but you're really in the moment and things happen super quickly. You're just focused on everything all at once. So sometimes it's hard to block those distractions out and things that are happening around you. But I talk to myself and I look at what's happening around me and kind of just try to brush off like anything bad that's happened throughout the race and start fresh every lap.
Yeah, that's good. That's the right thing to do, because I know a lot of people who I've talked to, I speak to them about, mental health in sport, especially with females, because that's not talked about a lot.
Right.
And they tell me that when something goes wrong, they just continue to look back at it instead of, concentrating on what's happening next and how to make it better. They just live in the past and continue to hate on themselves for that.
Yeah, and that's so easy to do. I've been there before too. I still look back at things and I kind of get bummed out that things unfortunate have happened, but I just look forward to the future the most and what it has in store for me and what I can do.
Yeah, and that's the best thing to do, because you never know what the future is going to hold unless you really work for your best and make it what it is,
Right.
So have you ever gone through, speaking of, an incident or a mental block that held you back and almost made you stop racing?
Yeah, I've actually gotten in a really bad wreck. I spent a lot of time putting a body together for my race car and put new stickers on it, so it looked really good. Mm-hmm. And just putting in work every week on the car takes a long time. And I went out and I got wrecked. I flipped my car and it just destroyed a lot of the car. So that was really discouraging. That was probably one of the hardest times for me, just because I put in so much work and then it kind of all just got taken away. So I felt like quitting, but never did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How did you push through that and get yourself out of it?
I'm just so passionate about it. I didn't want to stop there. I wanted to go out there again, get my car fixed up and see if I can win or at least do better. And I knew if I could do that, that it would just make me feel better doing that.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. I've seen so many movies about race car drivers and stuff that's happened. And that's one of I don't know about you, but I am sometimes when I drive, I'm so hesitant to do something quickly because of everybody around me. I know that I'm from New York, so everybody's a hectic driver and I'm just
right.
so sick of them.
Yeah, everything happens so quickly. In a race car, especially the one that I'm in right now, it's super safe because the seatbelts are tight around you and you have all these bars surrounding you that if you do flip, that they won't give up and you'll be safe in there. So It's not really scary for me. It's more upsetting getting the car wrecked.
Yeah. Well, at least you got to fix it though, right?
Yeah, lots of time, but it was worth it because I'm still racing at least.
Yeah, definitely. So what was it like getting the Arizona Rookie of the Year when that happened? Were you surprised? Were you amazed?
Yeah, I was really surprised. They told my parents before anyone told me, and when they announced it, they actually announced it as my brother, and they said the Rookie of the Year award goes to Austin Cool. And everyone was just kind of like, well, he got it last year or maybe the year before. And then they were like, oh my gosh, no, we meant Taylor Cool. So I was kind of stunned, but I was really surprised. It was exciting because I was only 13. I was the youngest one that was in that division. I was the only girl. So I raced against a bunch of grown men. So it was kind of cool. I stood out a little bit, and it was really cool receiving that trophy.
Well, that's really empowering too, as well, because you're kind of like in the books for that. You made history being the youngest.
Yeah, it was awesome.
So earlier when we were speaking and you were texting me, you told me that you experienced harsh lessons and that not everybody likes certain people winning. So can you expand on this? Like, what exactly happened?
Yeah, so it was actually after I got Rookie of the Year. It was the following year. There was a certain guy that didn't like me. I was faster than him, and I would pass him and stuff. And he started to hit me all the time, which wrecks things on the car. It just creates more work, and you have to spend more money fixing it. So that was upsetting. And he finally just hit me really bad and messed up a lot of things. And the people that directed the division, they said that he did nothing wrong, and they were a bunch of guys running it too. So it was like 5 grown men against me, and I was only about 14. So
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, what did you do when that happened? How did you react to it? Who in the situation helped you? Obviously your dad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was super young, so I was emotional when that happened. I was crying and I was upset, and they were saying it was all my fault and I need to stop crying and grow up if I want to race with them, which to a certain point is true. You definitely need to grow up and be strong if you're racing with guys, but that was just super unfair to me. And my mom and dad, they stood up for me, but there's not much you can do when the authority is telling you that you're wrong.
Yeah, which in many situations, even when you're not, happens all over the world in different sports and in the media. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is. And we ended up just having to switch divisions to get away from those people, so we didn't have to race around them anymore.
Okay, good.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that's the best thing to do.
It definitely was. I'm still racing the division I moved up to, so I think it was the best decision.
Yeah, no, that's good. And I can relate to you because I went through a similar situation in softball where I had to leave a team because I felt like I was getting unfair treatment from some of the coaches.
Right.
And then the team that I went to the following year treated me as I should have been treated, and I felt more like it was a family instead of some demanding thing that I didn't even want to do because of how I was being treated.
Yeah, if you're more comfortable, it's a lot more fun. You're happy. That's really what matters at the end of the day.
Yeah, definitely. So in 2019, you began Sports Mod. Can you tell us about this and explain to some of us who don't know exactly what it is?
Mm-hmm. So I actually took a year off racing. That's when all that scuffle happened in the other division. And so my dad and we made the decision to move up a bigger car, bigger motor, a lot faster and heavier. And I was looking forward to racing those for a while. I did pretty well. I ran for Rookie of the Year, and I got second in the nation.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, it was super hard because we raced every single weekend from January till September. I think I took 1 weekend off, so I missed all school activities and really anything that happened during the weekend, but I didn't mind. I'm super thankful that I got to do that.
It was the same way with me when I was younger. I would have sometimes 5 to 6 practices a week. And I would be like, Mom, can I please go out with my friends from high school? I know I always have to work, blah, 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 but I just want to go out. And she would be like, Gianna, come on, put your priorities in line. What's more important?
Yeah.
Right. And sometimes when a parent is telling you what to do or giving you that advice, it's hard to listen to, but in the end, it's the right thing.
Yeah, right. It is. It's good when they push you because sometimes they know what's best for you, especially when you're growing up. So I'm glad my dad did push me to keep going.
Yeah, same. I'm glad my mom pushed me, even though sometimes it was a struggle to get up for those 5 a.m. practices. But
oh my gosh, yeah, I couldn't imagine.
Yeah, it was crazy. So you also told me that you have a really hard competition. So I was wondering why it's good to have a hard competition, and how you think it makes you a better athlete overall?
I think it pushes me to do better. I also learn a lot more just because I can see what the faster guys are doing. I can learn their lines and what they're changing on their car and stuff. And on these cars, if you change a bar just a quarter of an inch, then that makes a huge difference of how it turns into the corner. So just tiny things like that have all added up. I've learned so much from the guys that are really good out here. And it just makes me want to work harder and kind of get where they're at as well.
Yeah, so I was gonna ask, like, growing up, did you ever watch videos of other racers and try to like examine what they're doing and put it into your work?
Yes, I did. My brother, he used to run a GoPro on his go-kart, and I was a division below him, so I was striving to race what he raced. So I always watched his videos and watched his lines and how he was on the gas and stuff like that, and it actually did help me a lot.
Yeah, so I know growing up, so many people do the same thing. Like, you always watch somebody who inspires you, and the next day or the day that you're doing that, when you go into practice, you're like, I need to do it the same way. It looks so good. I want to do that.
Yeah. And when I go to a different track that I've never been to, I always watch videos just to see how people race it and how the track kind of changes throughout the races.
No, that's really important. So, what are some of the things that you have to do at different like tracks? I know some are more narrow than others. Some have like more of a sharp turn. How do you adapt to it?
It's kind of hard. It takes a couple laps. The track surfaces are different. Some are dirt, some are clay. Some feel like sand. I mean, they're all different. And the track, essentially, it dries out as the race goes because the tires are spinning on it. It's kind of flicking all the wet dirt and drying it out. So you just have to adapt to the way the track changes throughout the race. When the track is sticky, you can drive harder because your car will stick. And when it dries out, your car will kind of slip out. So you have to drive a little bit slower and straighter just to kind of get around the corner. So there's a lot of change that goes on just even in one race. And then different tracks, it's just, you have to learn them really quick if you want to go race there.
Is it difficult though? Like, I know even sometimes when I'm not even like, obviously you're a pro driver. When I'm driving and I'm going through like construction and I'm on the dirt, I'm like, this is so different. I don't know how you do it.
Yeah, the tracks are a lot different. Like in Arizona, we have a track, Cocopah Speedway, and it reminds me of a lot about a track out here in Arizona. So out here in Iowa, and coming out here, I was super comfortable driving it because I already felt like it was the same as the one at home.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I know it's the same thing. Like when I would go to different rinks, I'd be like, this ice feels softer than others, or I feel like it's like it's just every athlete I know has like a distinct thing that they can really like figure out, you know?
Right. Yeah, my brother played hockey and he said the same thing. He could feel the difference in the ice.
Weird. Also, I know that a lot of people have superstitions. Like, do you have any superstitions when you go into races, or do anything in particular every race that has to be the same way?
I always, if people say, are you going to win this? I never say yes because I feel like I'll jinx myself. So that's one thing that I stick with is I always say, I hope so. And when they're like, no, you will, I'm like, yeah, I hope so. I just never want to jinx myself. So that's one thing. And then people make up all kinds of crazy things, like you can't eat chicken on race day.
Really?
Yeah, just things like that. And you can't wear green because it's bad luck. So there's different things like that. Some people believe in it.
Yeah, it's like the superstitions. We have a lot in my house. There's so many. When I was younger, my mom used to put like red bows on us when we would have competitions. Or there's just so many different things. It's crazy. Yeah,
but you get used to it. Like it's your own little thing that makes you comfortable and you kind of agree with.
Yeah. So what are some of I mean, so I already asked you that. Sorry. What is one of your proudest memories? Is it going to that World Cup that we were talking about, or I mean, yeah.
I think my favorite memory is the week that I raced in Vegas last year. I had a pretty up and down year. It was good and bad. And then when I went to Vegas, I went in there feeling really confident. The car just felt really good. It did everything that I wanted it to. So I actually did really good there, and I was proud of how everything went. So that's probably one of my favorite races as well.
That's a really cool place to have a race, though.
Yeah, it is. It's like 10 minutes from Vegas, so you can see all the lights and stuff. It's really cool.
Was that one of your favorite places, or is there another place that you really, really enjoyed?
I don't really have a favorite track. They're all just unique and different in their own way. So I just really like traveling and getting to drive on different tracks because I think it makes you a better driver, and it's super cool to travel and race with different people.
Yeah, definitely. So, what would you say right now to all the little girls hoping to be like the next female NASCAR driver? Is there a piece of advice that you would give to them?
I would say just keep beating the boys and don't feel like you're left out since you're a girl racing in a guy's sport. Once you put the helmet on, you're just the same as everyone else. And if you have the skill and you work at it, then you can get anywhere you want to.
Yeah, definitely. It's so unfortunate that a lot of girls feel like, or a lot of girls in sports feel like discouraged because of another gender. You know, so many it's more times than not where you just see girls saying, "Oh, I can't do that because I'm just a girl," and we have to teach them what they can. You know.
Yeah, I agree. I see a lot of scrutiny about the girls in NASCAR and how they shouldn't be driving just because they're females. And I mean, I totally disagree with that. And I think it doesn't really matter what gender or color or what kind of, hair product you use. I think if you're comfortable with it and it makes you happy, that you should do it.
Exactly. And it's all about being comfortable in your own skin as well while doing it.
Exactly.
So, were there any difficult decisions that you had to make as a professional race car driver? And if so, how did you manage to do it on your own?
I've learned from my dad and my brother because they both raced and they worked on my stuff when I was younger. So they taught me everything I know so I could go out on my own. And I've learned from so many other people as well. So, I'm comfortable being out here alone and working on my car because I know I can do it, and I've learned so much.
Yeah, and even if you take the slightest step back, you know that you have a support system waiting right there for you at home.
Yeah, of course. And then just the whole racing community is a big family. So being out here alone, I'm really not, because there's so many people willing to help and so many people supporting me here as well.
And that's the best thing, like knowing that you have a support system even when you're slightly away from home.
Right. It feels like family.
Yeah, definitely. So was there ever a time where you had to take a step back and remind yourself of your values during your athletic career?
Yeah, definitely. Especially racing with all these grown men and stuff. I've kind of been discouraged and I get angry or whatever, but I've always been taught to be classy and not to let your emotions show too much. Sometimes that can get you in trouble. So I just try to be modest as much as I can and make sure that I keep a good reputation.
Yeah, that's great. And I know sometimes it's hard to keep your emotions in, especially as a woman. So it's tough in those situations, but it just proves how strong you are and how strong you're being. Just so you keep that reputation for everybody and be an inspiration to young girls.
Right. And when I get emotional after the races, I try to just sit there and cool down and think about what happened. And eventually you have to move on. So
yeah. Well, sometimes that's just the best thing to do.
Right.
Take a step back to yourself, breathe, give yourself a quick 5 minutes, and then get right back into it.
Yep. My parents teach me to just cool down, don't talk to anyone like they're any less. So
Yeah, definitely.
I have to do that.
I feel like one of the biggest things that like my mom taught me was to treat people with respect and treat them the way that you've wanted to be treated.
Right.
So that's just something obviously that you brought with you.
Mm-hmm.
So well, I'm interested in what you're trying to accomplish this year as well.
I'm not going for any championships or anything. I came to Iowa to really learn and become a better driver, and I think so far I have accomplished that. I've gotten better, and I've learned so much more in the past 2 months in Iowa than I have in the past year anywhere else. So I'm really thankful for that. I'm mainly racing to win, and if I don't, I just want to at least learn something in the race and become better.
Yeah. So if you don't mind me asking, what are some of the things that you've learned? You said you've learned so much.
Mm-hmm. So the tracks being different out here, you have to race them differently.
Mm-hmm.
Like entering the corner different, kind of just different tracks and stuff like that. And then I've learned a lot about maintenance on my car and making changes to the car before the next race. So you know exactly what the car is going to do. I'm still even learning that. It's kind of a tough deal because, like I said earlier, changing something a quarter of an inch will make a whole big difference. So just little things like that.
Yeah. Are you sometimes hesitant to do some of the stuff to your car?
Yeah, I actually, my boyfriend makes fun of me because he'll say, put 3 turns in here. And I'm like, I only want to put 1 in there because I don't know how it'll do.
Yeah, no, I definitely am the same way. Even just changing slight things in my day-to-day life, I'm like, I don't know if I can do it. Like, it's just too much for me. I can't.
Yeah. A smaller change, smaller steps, I think are a little bit better. And if I'm more comfortable with them, then that's what I'll do.
Mm-hmm. And it takes a little bit of getting used to, but that's just life, you know?
Yeah.
So I have one last question for you. I mentioned it to you earlier. As you know, my podcast is called Play Like a Girl.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious as to what you think playing like a girl it means and why it's important for younger girls to understand the concept behind it.
I think that it means to play your hardest and use your best attitude. You know us girls with our attitude, and just to work your hardest to achieve your end goal.
Mm-hmm, definitely. Well, that was a great answer.
Thank you.
I loved speaking with you, Taylor. I had such a great time.
Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. I hope you the best out in Iowa. And if you ever need anything, you know, you can always reach out to me. And I would love talking to you again.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
No problem. Have a great night.
You too.
Bye. Okay, guys, that was Taylor. She was amazing to speak to. I absolutely loved her. And you guys should definitely look her up and watch her races because she's very talented. I know that's what I'm going to do after this. But as you guys know, this is Play Like a Girl for the girls. I'm your host, Gianna Cambria, and I will see you guys soon. Bye.